right? 30-30. Skip the 40-40, spend 20 on the 30-30.
You know, because I've got about 300 tracks called track 1. You know what I mean? Well, you just got to title it. You have to title it.
I can tell you a horror story about track 1.
Go ahead.
I got about 1,000 track 01s. All right, and I use Gmail to basically reference my library. So anytime you send a track, always put producer name and the name of the track, because your beats will get caught up in the vortex. Because there were several guys that missed opportunities to get placements because they were track 01 and 02, and it's impossible for us to identify the track.
And everything is about timing. People need to be able to identify stuff right away and contact us. Another thing, people, you got to be accessible. You know, I don't know how many times I've tried to get people on the phone and I can't get them on the phone, and the opportunity is gone. They call me like Q-Tip. One night, called me about his manager or whatever, called me like 11 p.m. Oh yeah, I want to be in the spot. We booked that spot at 11 a.m. this morning. We called you a day ago. You know, you said you want to get them on the phone in a half hour, and the whole day almost went by. You know, that's an opportunity missed. So you guys are at the point where you have cell phones, you got all these different technologies, MP3s and all that stuff, and emails. Make sure people can reach you. Big opportunity missed by that. Some more questions, right there. Songs are good too. Everything has a reason, you know. I might get a call that says, I just got a call the other day that said, I need a happy pop vocal song that talks about driving, because they were going to use it in a Nissan spot, you know. Your titles, what you call your songs means a lot. What you write about in your songs means a lot. You might not start off creating it that way, but if you have a bunch of songs, I did a song called Hustle Harder. I didn't even write it, the rappers wrote it. But what does Hustle Harder go with? Every single sport you can think of, just action. I licensed that on a TV show, I licensed on a car commercial, I licensed on a movie, I licensed on a documentary, the same song. I licensed about 8, 9 times. And that's, you know, I'm not saying you got to start making stuff intentionally, because you don't want to necessarily compromise your integrity, but you are a business to yourself. As a composer, you start to do things consciously. And if you want to get smart about your production, maybe you will start making music with titles that work, not titles that have curse words in it. Titles that talk about killing somebody or whatever, you know. You might have that in your stash for your boys, and for some things it might work if you get something and get rich or die trying or something like that. But to expand your network, you want to have a whole catalog of different types of things. And don't be afraid to like link up. Nicole's talking about collaborating. If you don't play guitar, get with the dude next to you that plays guitar. If you don't, do whatever, make your network. Matthew knows. Beyonce's father did the most important thing, one of the most impressive things I ever saw at a conference. Because everyone's talking about how do I get to you, how do I get to you. He said, no, you don't get to me. That's not the point. He said he made every producer in the room stand up. Then they sat down. Then he had every lyricist or songwriter stand up. Then he sat down. Then he had every video director stand up. Then he had every publicist. He named different professions. And he said, your network is right out there where you are. That's your network right there. That's why y'all come to this convention. You got, I don't know how many people are at this convention, but you have all these people, everybody out there, y'all create your teams, because you're all, all have a lot of potential. You all have strengths and weaknesses that you can bring together under one belt and make a lot of stuff happen. No one can do it on their own. And too many collaborate with people. Kevin has to collaborate with people on different things. Nicole collaborates with people. Terrence. It's all a collective, and that's why we're here.
Now, when I came in, like I told you, my front ground is jazz. I think I may have recorded, probably now, since they released stuff after you died, probably about 10 albums with Miles. Not one time. Now, this says it's not about the ability to write down. Miles went to Juilliard when he was 18. But at no time, ever, did we walk in the studio and he handed us any kind of sheet. Okay? Unless it was a sheet to put on the bed. Not no music. Now, why do I say that? Because at the highest level, there's nothing wrong with writing that. Now, of course, when we're scoring, like for orchestration for all that stuff you hear on Steph and all that, yeah, that's got to be written out. Because the string players and the horn players, when they write, they got to read the chart. Because that's a different thing. But that's the icing. But the actual way that the cake is created, that's totally personal to you. Now, I always make this analogy. If this is a circle, right? Top of the circle is 0. When you do the whole circumference, you at what? 360? But that's also what 0 is. Dig what this is high science. Now feel me. When you start digging on people like Miles and Coltrane, Charlie Parker, now Miles got that from Bird. These guys were brilliant. They could have written it down, but it was about the emotion. Music, like all other art forms, is form and feeling. It's capacity and condition. For the music to rise to its highest level, you got to have the baddest people around you to contribute to that part. But remember, when we went in the studio, yeah, but to answer your question, I always had the idea. I never believed in rolling the dice. Because sometimes you might be in there and something came up that you didn't expect. Mistakes are wonderful. That's one of the problems today, man. Ain't enough people making mistakes. You'd be surprised what you stumble on. I'm not one of the old heads that talk about, y'all, you know, everything's got, I love some of the sounds and sampling, the sonic of a sample. But I'm also into y'all create your own samples and put it in your compositions. But having said that, it's about that music that y'all love from the old days. That was a bunch of people putting their heart and soul into something. I might be hitting something, a chord on the keyboard, and the bass player go, oh, bam. And then that sends another charge. You get what I'm saying? But when you're in the basement by yourself, it's hard to get that kind of electricity. And what has happened with the music, it has become a victim of the arrogance of isolation. That's what it is. I ain't gonna show you my shit. I ain't gonna show you how I got that hi-hat sound. But when you start doing that, the music stagnates, and that's what we're facing now. Nobody wants to talk about that. What's the variation in hip-hop? What's the variation? And I love what y'all are doing. But damn, man, come on, we gotta take it somewhere. You can't keep complimenting each other and you start to glorify mediocrity. There's some great stuff coming out, man. I'm with y'all. So understand, I'm with you, man. I love what y'all are doing. But stop holding yourself back. You gotta study your art form, man. And start collaborating with each other. And that's when the music will grow. You know why you got thousands and thousands of files? Because thousands and thousands of people doing the same thing. What you want to do, and please hear me, beloved, what y'all want to learn how to do is find the difference in the familiar. If it's hip-hop, what makes your thing different? Signature is the most important aspect of art.
Me personally, I would love to hear like how you got started, like in terms of did you go to music school, what instruments you played, who influenced you. I hope I'm not taking it off track, but I've always been a fan of his from the Tuwap, the Thyroid days and all that. So I'm curious.
We can go off track.
Okay, I want to hear your musical, who influenced you, did your dad teach you, or how, you know, that whole business.
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I've never been asked that. Not in the setting of a younger audience. Well, I come from a musical family.
Where you from?
I'm from South Philly, bro.
South Philly.
Yeah, South Philly. I come from a musical family called the Heath Brothers. My father's a very famous jazz saxophonist, Jimmy Heath. And my uncle was Percy Heath, who played bass with the Modern Jazz Quartet. And I have a famous drummer uncle named Tootie Heath.
Big time. Big time.
I wasn't interested in music. I was interested in basketball. You know, I really thought I would be the second coming of Elgin Baylor. That was the equal equivalent to Michael Jordan back then. And then I realized my shit stopped at 5'10". And I said, okay, all right, rethink this plan. So I was always around the music. I remember at 9 and 10 years old, y'all, being at the dinner table with, the interesting thing about Miles, I ended up playing, I was second generation. My father and both my uncles played with me. But I would also be there 9 years old at the dinner table with Thelonious Monk, John Coltrane, Dizzy Gillespie. Yeah, man. But see, I had a different, because of that unique experience, I had a different understanding of what being diligent about your art form was. So I didn't didn't know how deep these cats, you can't know it that young. But I knew it was something very special. And the one thing that always impressed me, when they sat together after dinner, these cats would talk about the chords and the music and who was doing what. And you know what? Here's the most important thing. I would watch them ask each other, hey man, what did you do right there? And he'd get up at the Monk. I've seen Monk get up the piano and show Lee Morgan, this is what I played, this is the chord, this is the right change. So that was always my understanding. So when I came into it, my thing was open arms. But something happened along the way. And what has happened with hip-hop, one of the things that needs to be addressed and corrected, and for y'all here, it's very important because obviously y'all care. Y'all got to be able to share that music with each other. The music can only grow when the knowledge in that music is raised. If we're going to keep doing it here, that's where it's going to be. You'll be surprised, man, where it goes. But it can only rise to that level through study and sharing. Now, how did I get started? When I left Miles, Roberta Flack had been calling me for that. I took a year off. And I had gotten a grant from the National Endowment of the Arts for a symphony I was working on. So Roberta kept calling me, and I said, okay. After a year, I joined. And when I got with her, I realized she needed a new band. So she come to me and said, man, I need a guitarist. I said, yeah. I called my man Reggie Lucas, who was my partner. I need a bass player. Oh yeah, I called Warrington. Now the bottom line is, what was that for? The band she had, I was a musical director, was going to be the band I was going to use. When we finished rehearsing her stuff, I rehearsed my stuff. So everybody was getting paid so everybody could eat. But that became the unit for the whole M2Man production center. So that's how that, when I left Roberta, this, I'll throw this in because this is, I never told this story. I was getting a little, you know, the other thing is you got to know when it's time to leave the situation because you're going to get stale. And my mind was, I got to do something else. And Roberta was paying very wonderfully, so it wasn't nothing wrong with that, and I love the music. But we had a band meeting, and I'll never forget this. I said, Roberta, I got to roll. I mean, I've loved working with you. I think it was about 3 years. And much to my surprise, the whole band said, yeah, well, we're out too. Now, I hadn't even talked to these dudes. So I'm like, oh, shit. Because they were into, man, this vision I had been talking about, they bought into it. Now, believe me, it was a vision. And it could have been delusional, but this is how things work. 3 weeks after I split, and I'm wondering how I'm going to take care of these cats, I get a call. 20th Century, yo, have you ever produced anybody? Yes, I have. It just hasn't been released yet. I was lying. They said, we got this artist, Stephanie Mills. Wow. We're going through producers. We want everybody to cut 3 things and just, you know, send it to us and we're going to pick who it was. The 3 things we cut, what you going to do with my loving? Put your body in it and deep inside your love. When I sent it, I got a call back the hour after they got it. So, that's the story. Jerry. Keyboards and percussion.
Okay.
See, one of the things that I think has been missing, there's no provision for adult contemporary rap. You understand what I'm saying? Ain't no reason why a 35-year-old is listening to the same tracks that a 13-year-old is. Okay? And y'all spitting the same lyrics. There's got to be a provision. This is one of the things I was talking about. Expanding the dimensions just opens up the door for more possibilities.